Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I'm a little nervous for this video. This is another one of those videos where I have the idea to tell you guys things that I've never talked about. In my 58 years on this earth, I've never talked about this stuff, and I'm a little nervous. I make these videos, and in my head, I'm thinking, well, I could make the video. I have the idea, and I'm tempted to do it. I really want to make the video, but then in the back of my head, I'm saying, well, I could delete it, or I could download it, and I could change my mind later and delete it. And I always tell myself this, and I always end up leaving it up. And a lot of times, these videos get a lot good views. I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. Everything I'm saying is completely true, and there's a reason I'm saying this too. I'm going to talk about a couple things. I came across an article on TMZ. I'll use the picture on my thumbnail. It's about a French diver in the Olympics, Jules Boyer, and he's wearing trunks, and it doesn't leave much to the imagination, and it looks like he's packing the goods, And I came across this article, and it made me think of two different things that I'm going to talk about. And here's the thing too, I'm 58 years old, and at this point in my life, I know who I am. I'm a straight guy. I know I'm a straight guy, and I just don't care anymore. I really don't at this point in my life. I don't mind talking about this stuff. And I think there's the first thing I'm going to talk about, which is size. And then the second thing, I'm going to talk about something that happened to me. Because this article, the size of this guy, reminded me of something I did back when I was dealing. And the reason I want to talk about this is because the way things are now, is the way that those drugs made me act, the way that I responded to them is not who I am today. I'm a different person, and I don't know if this has to do with when I was younger. My mother was dating a police officer, and he did things, all sorts of things that he shouldn't have done. And from the time I was just to say I was a young teen, and I don't know if the stuff I did when I was using was, some kind of psychological thing to have power over these people that I thought that had wronged me, or if it had something. I think it had something to do with the drugs too. If you're a guy and you use these drugs, I'm sure you probably noticed that it increases. You become hypersexual. And there's things I did back then that I just, it's not like I try not to do them now. I'm just not interested in that anymore. I don't even know why I would be interested in it back then. Since I've been clean and sober since October 23rd, 2006, 17 years and 9 months, it's not like I made a point. I consciously stopped going to like adult bookstores and looking at adult material for the first couple of years, and I've had two relationships, 5 years in one and 2 years in another, long-term relationships with women, and I just don't. The things I'm going to talk about don't interest me anymore. I'm not curious as I was back then, and I have to wonder, And I want to talk about this because I'm sure there's guys that are using now or have just quit recently, and they're concerned about the future. Okay, where to start with this? Like I said, so I came across this picture of this guy with a big bulge. And it reminded me, just yesterday, I was in Stop and Shop, and I have big feet. This is about when some guys will say size doesn't matter, and I have to laugh because I've never had a woman tell me that. I'm not extraordinary. I've been told like I'm above average, let's just say slightly above average. And just yesterday, I went to Stop Shop to get just a gallon of milk. I ran in, it was raining, and I went, the dairy aisle's long. It's a long aisle. And I was walking back to the cash registers with the gallon of milk in my hand, and there was a woman, attractive, probably in her 30s, pushing a carriage. And as I walked closer to her, I could see her looking, she was looking at me and smiling. And I noticed her eyes. She looked down at my feet, and then her eyes would move up a little bit, and then her eyes would move up to my eyes, and then back down to my feet, and then to my midsection, and then back up to, and she kept looking, and all the while as I'm walking towards her, I see her doing this and smiling, and this happens like I'd say at least once a week. I have size 15. I have extremely. They say Native Americans have extraordinarily large feet, or extraordinarily wide feet too. My feet. I have a hard time. I have an impossible time trying to find sneakers. And it made me think about the guys that say, or the women that say size. I've never heard a woman say size doesn't matter. A woman has never told me that. I've dated over 100 women, and I've never heard that. So I'm thinking they must just tell this to certain guys that size doesn't matter, because I've never heard it, and I've dated quite a few women. Okay, now here's where the video gets my heartbeat starts increasing. Back when I was using this, reminded me of something that happened, and the reason I'm talking about this is because the idea that I did something like this scares me. That if I got caught doing this by the police, I used to deal, right? And I used to work with a gay guy. This is how it started at an architectural firm, and he would go to a gay bar down in Waterbury, Connecticut. It was like on a back road leading out of town, Thompson Avenue, it's called, and it goes through the woods. And this is where the bar was, and he kind of busted me one day. He says, "Hey, I want to get something from you, but you got to meet me at the bar." He didn't think I'd show up because I'm a straight guy. And I said, "No problem." So I went down there to meet him to do a little business, a sale. And when I was there, I started talking to. I can't believe I'm going to talk about this. I started talking to a black gentleman who was gay. He was a really tall guy, and we started talking about feet. This was like 30 years ago. So, and he had like size 18 shoes, and he started laughing, and he looked at mine, and he started busting me, saying, "You got big feet, but mine are bigger." And he started busting me about this, and I'm not sure how this all changed. Like I said, it was 30 years ago, and he's mentioned something about smoking a little green. So we ended up both getting in our cars. I got in my car, and he got in his car. And we went down the road. Like I said, this was a forested highway. And we ended up pulling off. There was an area that went back into the woods where there was a waterfall. I remember hiking there years ago. And we parked our cars on the side of the highway, on the side of this back road, and went into the woods. And he had a bet with me that I would give him some of my product for free if he was larger than me. So we both dropped trow, and to this day, this guy was like bigger than my shoe, man. I can tell you that much. But the thing that I look back on in this is, if a cop had ever come down that road, I'd probably still be in jail for this. I'd probably be a registered offender, because this was out on the side of the road, like in the woods. I mean, it wasn't like in a park or anything. It was in the back, way up in the backwoods in the forest, at night, and like at 2 a.m. But still, if a cop had gone by and seen my car there, plus everything I was carrying on me at the time, which was a considerable amount, like I said, there's a good chance I'd probably still be in jail. I'd probably be in jail for the rest of my life. I'm thinking that could have changed my life forever, and it was so stupid of me doing this. And there wasn't really any intimate contact. I'll be honest with you guys. Like I said, I'm a straight guy. But back then, this is the point of the video. Back then, when I was using, I acted differently by being hypersexual. And I remember grabbing a handful, man. There was nothing completed. There was nothing exchanged between us. But there was like 10 minutes there where, I was kind of amazed by what I saw. Looking back, I mean, this doesn't interest me now. That's why I talk about it. The idea that these drugs changed me so much that I acted differently back then. It's not like I tried to act straight today. I know this is who I am. This is who I've always been. But when I was using, I became like hypersexual, and I did things that I look back on, and I have no idea why I would do this stuff. It doesn't interest me now. It doesn't interest me at all. You know, it's not like I'm trying not to do it. It's just, it doesn't interest me. I love women. You know, I love being with women. I'd like to marry a woman. Not that there's anything wrong with being gay, but it's just the reason I'm talking about this is because looking back, I realize how much these drugs affected the way I think and the way I acted. You know, and I'm doing this for people that are watching this video, guys that are concerned, you know, because I used to go to adult bookstores too. It was like a cross addiction with adult material. And I was terrified when I first got clean and sober, you know, because I would just see a woman on the street and I'd get aroused, and the first thing I would do is think of my dealer's phone number. I was cross addicted. And I was like, how am I ever going to have a relationship? You know, how am I ever going to get married? If every time I think about sex, I want to use, you know, I'm screwed. You know, either I become a priest if I want to get, you know, clean and sober. This is the reason I'm talking about this. And I've noticed before when I've done videos talking about like my gay uncle meeting, I got to update you on that, meeting my uncle my gay uncle for a coffee. And when I talked about my next door neighbor, one of my best friends when I was a kid, and I found out he was gay recently, and those videos did really well in views, so that's why I'm talking about this. Like I said, I'm not ashamed of what I did. You know, I did what I did, and you know, I don't think it doesn't make me a bad person or anything, but I'm talking about it because the way the drugs affected me and made me act out of character for who I am today. I've been clean and sober for almost 18 years, and it's not like I'm trying not to act. It's not like I'm trying to act differently. I feel like this is really who I am, and the way I acted and things I did back then were obviously part of the drug use, part of the psychosis, I guess you'd call it, you know, because I was using constantly, and that wasn't me. You know, I was really under the influence of drugs, and you know, I'm not making excuses here. You know, because like I've done other videos talking about my childhood friend and doing some exploring back then. You know, I'm not ashamed of having same-sex encounters. And I'm not making excuses for it. I'm just talking about how, when I was using, it changed who I was fundamentally, I think. You know, and the things that interested me, and the way I acted, and the chances I took, you know. And these are the best years of my life now. So I got a video all set to go. And this is a good one. This is something I used for 2.5 decades. And there's hundreds of things in my head that I remember now. And I came across a pile of concert tickets. And I remember this time I was supposed to go backstage and meet Ozzy Osbourne. It was all set up. I took a limo to the venue. And I couldn't go in to meet him. I never went in to meet him because I was too lit. And that's the video I got all set. It's all set to go. The thumbnail's all made up. I'm going to download that shortly later this morning, and you'll be seeing that. It's one of the most pathetic things that ever happened to me. All set. Took the limo to the venue to meet Ozzy Osbourne at Giant Stadium, and I couldn't go in because I was too high. Yeah, true story. That's coming up on Artist in Recovery. Recovery is possible. I've been clean and sober since October 23rd of 2006. I'll say it again, recovery is possible. Have a good Tuesday.